Now, I've grown up on boats and I've been on more than just a few, but back in World War II, all naval vessels had some sort of nickname, from the Big O to the Mighty Mo, and today, I'm on the Fighting Eye. That's right, the USS Intrepid. We're going to dive straight into her illustrious history on the other side of this intro. The first gun emplacement we're going to check out on the here is the 5-inch 38 cal here. And again, you might be thinking, what is, like, who actually mans these guns during air attacks on an aircraft carrier? And it could be, I'll be honest with you, it could be any one of the ship's crew as well as any Marines from the Marine detachment. And a 5-inch anti-aircraft gun, this thing is a big shell, a big round, and crucial to all air defense. The gunner would actually sit right here with his feet on the pedals. Fire it with your feet, with the pedals, believe it or not. As you can see here, the shells, the empty shell cases would fly out the back here, and all around this ship's floor here, that's where that'd be nothing but spent shells, spent brass, all piling up right there during a heavy battle. Now, if you keep heading forward here, right on the port side, this is a 20 millimeter Oerlikon gun. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the 20 millimeter gun was one of the most important armaments the ship had, mainly because it was the shortest range of any anti-aircraft gun that the ship offered. So kamikaze planes would obviously get dangerously close, if not crash into the ship themselves. So this was kind of their last line of defense before the kamikaze would actually make impact with the ship. And this 20 millimeter can fire 450 rounds a minute, and the ship during World War II had 46 of these 20 millimeter guns. 46, which is still crazy. In all this, 3 kamikaze planes were also able to strike home. So you can imagine during an air raid on the Fighting Eye here, there's going to be a lot of lead flying through the air. It's a two-way range. Now this is really cool, and unfortunately there's really not much to see as far as what it looks like here on deck, but the Mark 56 gun director. Now this is essentially a complex set of systems which included radars, directors, and computers that would help the ship's gun crews sight in potential targets. This is going to track targets either optically with somebody's own personal set of eyes or by radar. It measured the target's range, bearing, which is the direction, course, and speed. Now, I'm going to continue heading towards the bow of the boat, the front, and where that's going to bring me is actually right into the hangar deck. Now, these are all the different floors of this aircraft carrier. And I believe only a handful, like a mere fraction of these decks are actually open to the public. Now you see this guy with 2 paddles in the air. He's giving hand directions to essentially the pilots that are trying to land on that Fighting Eye's deck. In today's world, that's done all by comms, as well as really computers. Granted, it is 2023, but it's absolutely mind-boggling that the entire flight deck was made out of wood, essentially, with outer coats. I want to go deeper into this ship so freaking bad. I have made my way all the way forward into the Fighting Eye's bow. And one crazy fact, right, is that during World War II, this entire space had no exterior walls. So if they were in rough seas, rough weather, if you're working in the forward compartment here, you are feeling every bit of that weather. You are getting wet. You are going to probably be cold. Luckily, this ship fought mainly in the Pacific. Look at these anchor chains. Every single link of this anchor chain is about 150 pounds, which again, in today's world, is not that much, but there's a lot of chain here. Abandoned ship only. That's two words that no sailor ever wants to hear. Okay, so I'm just leaving the bow and I'm going to start making my way back aft on the ship. And we're going to take a quick peek at what an officer's stateroom looks like. As you can see, to be quite honest, for an officer, you're not getting much privacy. You're getting more privacy than the enlisted crew, but you're not getting really much of anything. So this is where the Marine detachment would essentially sleep. And as you can see, it's not as, you don't have nearly as much privacy as an officer's stateroom. There maybe be two officers to a stateroom. Marine berthing, it's like being in the barracks, right? You got bunk beds 3 high. There's really no personal space, and good luck trying to get away from anybody. Now you're probably asking, right? It's World War II. It's the 1940s. Why do naval ships still have bells? And they actually still use the bell to mark the passage of the day. So they would divide the day into 4-hour watches or periods of duty. Each strike of the bell would signify the end of a half hour, and the bell is sounded in pairs for easier counting. The max number of bells is 8. Now this is just one propeller or prop for the Fighting Eye, and she had 4 of these gigantic beasts, which is why she could get to speeds of 32 knots, which is like roughly 36 miles an hour, which is humming for this thing. This thing's huge, and it's slicing through at 36 miles an hour. Humming. This is really friggin' cool that they have this. This is actually a daily schedule for 29th January 1944, right? And you can get a legitimate inside look into what the crew did that day. So at 0515, reveille for air department. 0500, breakfast for pilots and flight crews. Man, that's an early day. So as you can see, that all day long on an aircraft carrier, you have planes taking off, landing, and in wartime, they're going to be conducting raids, strikes, on enemy positions, whether on land or they're at sea. It's just nonstop action. I didn't know what this was at first until I read about it later on in my time here, so I'm going to revisit this later on, and it has to do with planes and the flight deck. A crew of 3,000. Can you imagine? That makes sense. You got people, doing at their duty stations all day, every day, 24/7. So it makes sense. But good God. This is a TBM Avenger, and you know what? Goddamn right it is. It looks like it. So this is a torpedo plane. There's the torpedo, right? That's going to do some damage, that's for sure. That's going to pack a punch. And I love how, because it's on an aircraft carrier, we figured out a way to, and I obviously want to say we, it's not me, but we figured out a way to fold the wings in, right? That's going to also give you extra storage on an aircraft carrier because you got to use up every space that you can get. So this is a Grumman ball turret. This is going to be on the backside of the Grumman plane. And let me tell you something, God bless those guys, because I'm not getting in there. Fighting Eye's overall luck wouldn't hold out for very much longer. On October 29th, tragedy struck. A kamikaze aircraft struck a portside gun position, killing 10 men and wounding 6. Structural damage to the ship herself, however, was minimal. Under a month later, at the end of November, shortly past noon, 2 more kamikaze aircraft struck the Fighting Eye, which with much more effect. The 2 strikes killed 69 men and causing a significant fire on board. However, within 2 hours, the fires had been successfully put out and she remained on station. On April 16th, 1945, a Japanese air attack occurred at the Fighting Eye, where a kamikaze struck home and crashed into the main flight deck. The kamikaze's engine and a part of the fuselage penetrated the deck, killing 8 men and wounding 21. Now look at all the Japanese ships that their air crews essentially sunk. They made a massive impact on the Japanese Navy, and they just about finished it off right before they joined the battle in Okinawa. They pretty much finished off what was left of the Japanese Navy. And now obviously Western Union telegram, this is, as long as history as far as combat is concerned. And it says here, the Navy Department deeply regrets to inform you that your son, Lieutenant George Almiron Griffith Jr., U.S. Navy, was killed while in service of his country. The department extends to you its sincerest sympathy in your great loss on account of existing conditions. The body, if recovered, cannot be returned at present. Yikes. Mate on board really any naval ship would have scrubbed, mopped, and tidied a stateroom, and that man was probably black or Filipino, it says. 50s weren't great either. It was getting better for minorities aboard the ships. After seeing that exhibit and then seeing a water fountain, it's interesting symbolism there. Now, I am on my way up to the bridge where one of the volunteers here also served aboard a different naval vessel, but actually sailed in the same formation as the Fighting Eye, but in the Fighting Eye's later years as far as the 60s and 70s. And I'm going to step away and let this man talk, and I captured some of his speech on film, as well as the true formation of the Fighting Eye during the Battle of Leyte Gulf. So enjoy.
That's from World War II, the Battle of Leyte Gulf, which was a famous battle that this ship was involved with. It was in the Philippines.
Yeah, I'm a big student of history. I've seen.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, that was one of the staff that did the research on what the formation was. That's only part of the formation because there was a huge battle that went on, and as you probably know, for days.
I've seen the basics of it now over the years.
Yeah. So you got the Jersey in the middle, but the Intrepid is right in front of it. This was I think Halsey's flagship was in New Jersey at this point.
Well, the
Is that an aircraft carrier? Was that?
That was a battleship.
Battleship.
Yeah.
Was it?
Will the Admiral move from ship to ship, or does he just stay in one?
I'll tell you a little secret. The Admiral usually goes to the ship with the best food.
Right.
And so if you want to get rid of the Admiral,
I
had a captain who
Tank
didn't
the
get
food.
along with the Admiral.
Just sink the food right down.
And we had the worst food for about a week. And sure
on the ship?
No, not on this ship. This was on a ship I was on.
Yeah.
It was a guided missile destroyer. And the captain said, we're going to go take care of the Admiral here, and the food was terrible. And this is just in the wardroom. The Admiral made other arrangements and was airlifted off the fantail of our guided missile destroyer to another one that had better food, I
Well,
guess.
you didn't want him looking over
And the
your shoulder
captain
all
just
time.
went, okay, and the food went back to being great again.
Back to normal.
So that's a true story.
One of the coolest things that is on the port side of the Fighting Eye is the aircraft elevator, which would essentially bring planes from the hangar deck to the flight deck and vice versa. Now this is a 40 Mike quad gun mount, right? And this is the most common anti-aircraft gun Pretty much seen anywhere in World War II. Allies and Axis forces both used this weapon. On Intrepid, the 40 Mike gun provided mid-range anti-aircraft defense, and each barrel could fire 120 rounds a minute. This thing had 4 of these, okay? So that's over 500 rounds flying through the air every minute. With each shell that it fired would weigh 2 pounds. So typically the 40 Mike gun could engage enemy aircraft at a range of about 4,000 to 5,000 yards, which is, like I said, a mid-range type of firepower for anti-aircraft. Really cool. You smash that subscribe button, give the episode a thumbs up, and also comment down below what you think of the episode. Also, any history you want the channel to check out, leave a comment down below. On the next week's episode, I am still here on the Fighting Eye. We are going to examine its modernization in the 50s, as well as its time as a NASA recovery vessel and its 3 deployments in Vietnam, which you won't want to miss. And I'll see you all next week at the same time, same date, same channel.